Thought I'd jump in real quick. I'm gotta go into. I'm not gonna say I have to jump into PetSmarts and grab some dog food, and then I gotta jump over to the next plaza, pick up my son from the bus. Pouring rain right now. Let me give you a look. It's so funny how the camera makes it look like it's blue, white and blue in the distance, and not really. It cuts out all the haze and everything. Pretty remarkable. So I've been watching podcasts, YouTube videos, listening to some podcasts. This whole controversy over electronics in fishing. Electronics has been around for a long time, right? You know, we all thought it was cool with some of the corny stuff, like the color selector, and then the little green box, depth finders, sorry, someone almost got hit by a car. Depth finders, and then there was side scan imaging, and I mean, there's just been advances in technology. The problem is, one of the problems is that fishing had never really put any limitations on it, right? It was like the wild, wild west. Do whatever you want. Depth finders, great. They tied it into safety, right? So people wouldn't ground their boats. They would know when they're going shallow. Safety, right? Side scan imaging, same way, right? You're in the middle of a channel, you know where the sides are. You're not seeing it in real time, right? You're not seeing it in real time. And then you had now forward-facing sonar, right? And the issue is, are you going to ban it? I don't see how you can ban it. I mean, but you can't ban it, right? You can't ban forward-facing sonar. I don't think. But you can control it. You can control the technology, right? You have to set limitations. You have to set limitations. You know, one transducer, not 5 or 6. You know, maybe 1 or 2 screens, not 100. You know, it becomes ridiculous, right? And then forward-facing sonar in high school fishing. Do away with that. Do away with the hello. I'm from Florida. Do away with that, because it's not like if you play sports in high school or you play sports in college. For the most part, those sports are providing you with the equipment, right? They're providing you with the helmets, the baseball bats, the balls. You bring your glove. You have your own little other things that you bring, right? In high school fishing, you are picking winners and losers, because not everyone can afford a $50,000 nitro and then put another $50,000 worth of electronics on it. Some families can, some families can't, right? It's raining. Hold on, ready? There you go. Raining pretty hard here in Florida. South Florida. So you have to put limitations on it, because not everyone can afford it. And maybe the people that do want to go fishing, maybe people who do want to get into bass fishing, maybe they don't want to because it becomes too expensive to compete, right? Take golf. Golf is I played golf when I was younger. I went to college playing golf. Golf was expensive. I'm from Florida. Golf's expensive. The equipment was expensive. Go to a driving range to hit golf balls was expensive. To play at a course, you have to play. You have to pay to play. It was expensive. I was fortunate. My father worked at a golf course, right? So I played for free. I went every day. Came home, did my homework, went and played golf. Very fortunate. Very fortunate. If it wasn't for my dad working at a golf course, there's no way I would have been able to participate in that. But that fishing is expensive. I live in Florida, South Florida. I see it. People that live on the intercoastal, they got the boats behind their house. Just to get a boat. I went to the boat show just to get to get something that's capable of going in the ocean, right? 24 foot maybe. A lot of people say don't go in the ocean with anything under 21 foot. So you get a 24 foot boat, 30 foot boat. You get 200, you get 2 300s on the back or 1 300, whatever. Dude, you're into it for 150 grand, brand new. Yeah, it's going to cost you $150,000 for a recreational activity. Hey Lee, the fishing license is different. I get it. I get a yearly pass. I think it's about $100. But they have different classifications. They have like freshwater fishing, saltwater fishing, a combo pass, a sportsman's license that covers everything. That could be like $200-300. If I don't hunt, but technology is fine, but you have to regulate it. Every sport has had has technology, but they regulate it. In golf, back in the 80s, as the clubs, as the material that was used for golf clubs changed, and they came out with different types of alloys, they regulated it, right? They didn't want, when the golf balls were changing, they put a limit on the golf balls. The dimples, the dimple patterns, the hardness of the balls, when it comes, there was a technology called square grooves. They came out with square grooves. They found out that when you hit the ball out of, it would put more bite on a golf ball's cover, because covers have different hardness, and they could stop the ball. So instead of being penalized for hitting the ball in the rough, these types of clubs would help you. They got rid of that. They said, no, you can't use square grooves, right? You can't have square grooves. I mean, there has been drastic changes. When I played golf, when I was a kid, if you hit the ball 280 yards, right? Oh my God. They thought you were a big hitter. Oh my God, this kid can hit it 280. I had a wooden golf club. 280 yards, big hitter. Now they're hitting the ball 350 yards, right? So they've had the advancements, and they put limitations on it because they didn't want to make the courses obsolete. When I played a 7,000 yard golf course in total, that was unbelievable. It's going to be a true test of golf. Now, that's nothing because these players are hitting it so far. But there's no limitations. I had a wooden golf club. I had a wooden golf club. I had a driver, Wilson. They called it persimmon wood. You had the head of the driver was wood. The insert was a different type of material, right? Then I remember they came out with metal clubs. The Founders, tailor-made, they came out with the metal clubs, but then they regulated it. They regulated that, right? They regulated it so it didn't have that trampoline effect. So they put these clubs under test, right? So getting back to fishing, I mean, baseball's out. Even baseball, pros use a wooden bat. High school use aluminum. 2 reasons: economics. So high school doesn't have to replace wooden bats if they break, right? They have an aluminum bat for the most part. That's going to last you all year, right? Get a couple aluminum bats and you're good. For baseball, you may have to buy half a dozen bats. It's expensive, right? And the other thing is the ball comes off the bat harder with an aluminum bat. I think they're trying to regulate that, but the pros, they could hurt somebody. They would hit rocket ships, okay? So I'm watching people walk through the rain to get into PetSmart. So everything's been regulated. Football, right? Football. The gloves to catch the ball used to be barehanded. Then they got that sticky substance, and that looks stupid. The players had this stuff dripping off their hands. Then they went to a glove that has a better type of tacky surface. What sponsorship going to give you? Sponsorships used to give you free stuff, right? They don't give you money. Very rare. They don't give you money. They usually give you, I mean, I went through this with my son with skateboarding, right? Skateboarding, he was a really good skateboarder. This was his, really good. And the kids are all trying to get sponsorship. Okay? Some places will give you product. They'll give you product. They give you skateboard decks. Might save you 50 or 60 bucks. They give you a certain amount. Every 3 or 4 months you might get a few skateboard decks. They don't give you wheels, they don't give you trucks, they don't give you bearings, they don't give you grip tape, right? They don't pay you. Manufacturers, it's tied into something. Like we had a friend who he's sponsored by New Balance. He gets New Balance shoes, right? But he gets a percentage of the if someone goes out and buys this person's shoes, he gets a certain amount of money. But it's not a lot. It's like $5, right? Same thing with clothing. They send you a little box. They give you some gift. They give you some gift things, right? I mean, I just heard Kyle Welcher, Angler of the Year, Kyle Welcher on the Elites. He's a past AOI. He says the electronic sponsorships are not great. I don't know what that means. You have to ask him. But he said in a recent video, it's not all that. I'm sure they're getting something, right? Can't tell you about bass fishing. I think they get a break on the boat. I think they still pay for it, but I think they get a break on it. Rods, they give you rods probably. Because they're pushing their rods, right? Favorite had the professional series. Well, they still have it. Where Roland Martin, his son Scott Martin, we've designed this rod. They probably get free rods, and they get a percentage of every time a rod is sold. They probably get a they have an agreement to get some money out of that. By the unit. And then once that runs its course with the manufacturer and they're not really making money off of it, they move on. Right? And that's where you saw Scott Martin jump to lose this year, right? That he was off favorite, now he went to lose. So, a couple things probably happened. Maybe favorite wasn't happy with the results, the sales, and they didn't want to sign him. Or he went to lose because they offered him something different, right? There's a reason why these anglers you see on their YouTube shows, right? You see in back of them, see all that stuff on the wall? It gets sent to him. When my son was skateboarding, he'd get a little care package once every few months from his sponsors. Did it help? Yeah, it helped, because anyone who knows certain sports, you break clubs, you wear them out. You wear out skateboards. There's a lot of things that happens, right? But if a kid thinks he's going to get some type of money, I haven't seen it. And I know some top of the line professional. When it comes to the sport of skateboarding, which was in the Olympics, I know personally, watch them grow up and go to the top of the mountain, competed in the Olympics, won a medal. And when they were younger, they weren't getting money. They get product. A certain amount of product. Not a lot. That's why if you look at the bios of a lot of these professionals, they're sponsored by like 30 people, 30 companies, a bearing sponsor. They got a reel sponsorship, a line sponsorship, a lure sponsorship, guides, cleats, right? The cleats on the boats, the engine manufacturer, right? And it might be like NASCAR, right? So NASCAR, how do schools breed talent if students cannot afford sports equipment? The parents. For my son to walk into school every year, it cost me $400 in school supplies. I got to buy the paper. I got to buy the notebooks. I got to buy the folders. Pencils, pens. They give you a list of 400 things, right? Now, you go to... They play sports. They have balls out there for the kids, right? If you're lucky, they give you a uniform. My son played soccer. They were using the same they were using hand-me-down uniforms from the year before, which is not uncommon. I was issued uniforms when I played rec league in rec league. At the end of the year, you have to hand it all back in, right? But now if you want to buy shoes, the parents got to pay for it. They have to pay. Yeah, secondhand, man. Secondhand. My son played. I'm telling you, he played soccer, and they were given the uniforms from last year. And then after like the second game, the coach had a big announcement, handed out new uniforms. They raised enough money to get uniforms. Right? Yeah. How about high school fishing? How come all the high schools in Florida, a big fishing area, how come they don't have fishing teams? Central of the state, certain high schools have it. Where are the kids getting the boats? Where are the kids getting the boats? Where are the kids getting the electronics? High school, they give them $100,000 boats, brother. They're not giving them $50,000 worth of electronics. You have wealthy parents. So the electronics is great. I grew up with it. I never even thought about it. But now that the subject has come up, you're picking winners and losers. You're picking winners and losers. And the people that are running this fishing, because they've never had limitations, they don't know how to address it. I don't think they ever dreamed they would have pushback on this, because they were ill prepared. But an organization, when they're running an organization and crap hits the fan, and you have the people that are happy, you have a lot of people who are happy, and then the fans start chiming in, and then they don't know how to regulate it. That means they never thought about it. It never crossed their minds, right? Because they were so ill prepared. Look at MLF and Bass. They're issuing the rules and they got to change them 3 days later because the anglers are saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And that's always been my beef. My beef has always been the people that are setting the rules. Some of them have never even fished in their life. Never even played football. Never even played baseball in their life. Never. Maybe they didn't do it professionally. Nah, it's raining. Here, hold on. I didn't think that I was going to go on this long, but it's raining. I don't know if I'm getting wet at the moment. To go into PetSmart. But that's one of the issues. And there's a problem, right? If you run a poll of the anglers, 90% of them are going to want it, right? Because you want any advantage that you think you're going to catch a fish. I was listening to a podcast. It was Avery, Canterbury, Martin, and Cox. They were sitting around, and someone asked them, scent on a lure, does it work? And I think it was Avery. I think it was Matt Avery said. Matt Avery said, "I don't know if it works or not, but I got to use it. Because at this level, anything that gives us potentially one more bite, we got to have it." So we're putting bait fuel and everything else. We're soaking our lures in the bait fuel. We're throwing them out there. We don't really know if it catches them. But if we don't have it, and someone else catches the fish, and they say, "Hey, yeah, I had scent on it," there's a big problem. There's a big problem. We're running right out and getting it. I got it. I got the bait fuel. I don't know if it works or not. But I feel a lot more comfortable after I've been soaking it in my little Ziploc bag and then I throw it out there. I'm covered. If it works, I got it. Right? We're happy. But you can have limitations. You can have technology, and you can have limitations too. Right? They got a problem with co-anglers. How can you ask a so here's my thing, right? The angler, the main angler, he or she's the one that has the $100,000 boat with the $100,000 electronics, right? It's all up at the front of the boat, and they're trying to win. Then you're gonna ask a co-angler to put up money to stand on the back of the boat, right? And have no electronics for the most part, right? And it's hard. It's hard to have a conversation with someone who's fishing at the front of the boat, right? Some of them don't want to have a conversation. They're trying to catch a fish, you know? They're concentrating. Look at this they don't want to. Some of them don't want to talk. You can't blame someone if they don't want to talk. There are some more. There are people who are more who are more outgoing than that, right? So I was listening to Big Jim, and he was talking about the co-angler. These tournaments, right? The tournaments that have co-anglers, they are depending on the co-anglers. The co-anglers are putting up money. If you have 100 boats and you got 100 co-anglers, and they all put up $100, how much is that? 10 grand? That 10 grand pays for something. It's paying for something. But you can make it fun. You know how you make it fun? This is how you make it fun. You take a tournament, a fishing tournament that has a co-angler, and you make it so it's a commutative weight tournament, right? You don't put the co-angler in the back and he's on an island or she's on an island by themselves, and the regular angler he's on the front and he's out there by himself, right? Because one co-angler can benefit depending on who he has as his angler. You might have someone who shares the electronics with you, giving you information. Hey, I see this in the water. I see a school of fish. It appears they're at 20 feet. Right? But then you may have an angler who doesn't share anything. And the co-angler's back there by himself. And you can't ask the angler to do something he or she doesn't want to do. Concentrating, trying to win themselves. And there's people that are out here just for have fun. You know, this shit's just for fun, right? You know, if you had the main angler and the co-angler and their weights are combined, cumulative weights, it will enhance the experience, because then the angler has more skin in the game to include the co-angler, to converse with the co-angler, right? Make his or her experience better. Make the experience better. That's what it should be about. How do we make the experience better? How do we make their experience better? I remember in professional golf, right? You have a week. Usually a tournament's a week, right? So what they used to do, they would have X amount of players registered for the tournament. Then they would save 4 or 5 spots for sponsors. The sponsors could put someone in there. They had qualification. Local areas where you could play at a course. They would charge players. They were called rabbits. They were called rabbits back in the day. These players that they didn't have their tour card. They weren't considered those types, up there. But you could qualify for the tournament. Throughout the year, they would have qualifying tournaments. You could sign up. You lived in California, and they had a tournament in Florida. You could fly to Florida on your own dime, put up the money, and play a certain golf course. And if you came within, if you won, you got an entry into the tournament. And then during the week, they have sponsors. They'd have the pro. They had the pro-am, right? They would get the pro and a couple amateurs. Usually they were the sponsors, people from the sponsors and stuff, right? They enhanced the experience. Pebble Beach is one of the main one of the main one of the main tournaments. And how do they do it? The first 2 rounds, you're playing with the amateurs, right? You're playing with people goofing around, and you're goofing around too. And then if you're lucky enough to make the cut, the last 2 days is played just the pros, right? So enhance the experience. Because co-anglers, they already feel like they're out on an island by themselves. Now with forward-facing sonar, you're making it like they're isolated. You're isolating them. How would you like to spend 5 or 6 or 7 hours on a boat where the angler doesn't even want to talk to you? Because he or she's trying to win. You can't blame them. They're trying to win a tournament. They got a $100,000 boat. They got a $50,000 worth of electronics. They did that because they want to win. You got a co-angler who's paying because normally they can't afford that, but they're looking for a good experience, right? That's what they want. A good experience. And forward-facing sonar takes away from that experience. So of course, the co-anglers, you can call them crybabies, but forget it. It's about the experience. That's what it's about, the experience. So how can we enhance it? Well, if you keep forward-facing sonar, limit it to 1 transducer, not 5, because some people can't afford 5. Have 1, but then make it I can't even say it, but combine the weight. Combine the weight of these tournaments. You don't have a lot of them, but combine the weights. So now the angler benefits if the co-angler does well. Then they're going to talk to one another. They're going to have fun. The angler might bring them to the front of the boat because that's where the fish are. The angler may turn around and say, hey, get off the back of the boat. There's nothing over there. Get to the front of the boat. I'll work the right side, the port side. You work the starboard side. You work the shoreline. I'm going to work farther in the deeper water in front of us. It's not hard. It's not hard. Enhance the experience. Make it fun. You guys saw the MLF team event. How much fun were they having? They were pros. They know one another. And they're having fun. They're having fun when they're losing and having fun when they're winning. They're just having fun. Everything should be wrapped around, you hear it all the time, wrapped around the fan experience. The fan experience. If you're watching an angler who's not having fun, then you don't want to watch it. Right? So Bassmaster and MLF and a lot of these other, they've let the genies out of the bag. They have 100 transducers. Right? Well, we're attaching motors to our power poles. So now we can manipulate how the boat goes. And that just got banned? It just now got banned? That's the problem with a lot of rules makers. They're not proactive. They're not proactive. They're reactive, right? They're not proactive. They see what's coming down the pipe, right? If you're involved in a sport at a certain level, you see what's coming down. You see it ICAST. You see it other sponsorship events. And when it comes to electronics, you go out to Vegas every year, right? You see what's coming down the pipe. Did anyone look there and say, hey, that might not be a good idea for us? No, let's let it go. Let's let it happen. And then we'll see what happens. All of a sudden, it takes 2 or 3 years for it to filter through the system. And then all of a sudden, you have people who've been using it for 2 or 3 years, and you go, oh, wait a minute, we got to ban this. Of course you're going to have pushback. Of course you're going to have pushback. You let people use it for 2 or 3 years who invested 5 or 6 grand in something, and then you want to take it away. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. You see it coming down the pipe. And the problem with forward-facing sonar and any technology, you've seen how the little green box from the 80s or the 70s and where we are now, what do you think's going to happen if you let it go unchecked into the future? You're going to have autonomous boats, and you're going to have autonomous boats that drive themselves, and you're going to be able to sit on your couch with a TV screen, pilot the boat, have different screens, see the electronics, and you're going to have a robot on there throwing the rod. I bet you won't allow that, will you? No, that's you're taking it too far now, John. You're taking it too far. Yeah, but if something goes unchecked, where does it end? That's why I have experience in golf. Golf limits it at the professional level. You can buy all this trick stuff for golf. You can go online. You can buy special balls. You can buy special clubs. You can buy anything you want. You just can't use it in competition. You want to go out and use it and have fun? You're tired of shooting in the 80s and you want to break 70 into the 70s? Go buy it. But you can't enter a tournament with it. You want to put 5 transducers on your boat? A 55-inch color TV? And go out on the weekends in the Everglades and catch fish? Knock yourself out. But you ain't doing it in a professional tournament. And don't get pissed. Don't get pissed when we don't let you do it. Anybody who's on any type of competitive panel, we're the rules panel, and you don't have forward thinking like this, you shouldn't be there. You should not be on it. Well, there's no conclusive study. No. That's what you're basing it on? That's what you're basing it on? You're basing because there's no conclusive study? How about common sense? How about when you see a bass boat that's got 3 TV sets, monitors in the cockpit, 3 more on the front of the boat, motors hanging on the power poles, and you don't think there's anything wrong with that? Then you're idiots. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, of course, rule makers, listen, I'm going to tell you this because I was involved in government. And many rules are reactive. They're not proactive. They react. They let people get away with stuff. And then when it gets out of hand, then they want to reel it in. Right? Always been like that. You look at football. Right? Look at all the rules changes they've done over the years, right? Because they're realizing that all this violent, these gladiators, that's what they are, right? They're gladiators. It's causing long-term issues. I'm a therapist, man. I'm a therapist. I treat the elderly. I see what years of abuse to someone's body does. It may not happen quick, but when you're 70, 80, 60 years old, yeah, man, you got major problems. You will have major problems. Don't matter how much money you have. Right? Rules makers. That's what I said. I remember I was at a sports club, sports bar, and they were remodeling, and they were putting new TV sets in there. I'm like, Jesus, man, look at those TV sets. That's unbelievable. And the company that was installing them said to me, you ain't seen nothing yet. You ain't seen nothing yet. You should see the things I see when we go to these product showcases. They got stuff that's going to blow your mind. But it's just not affordable yet for the public. Stuff that NASA and these people use, the cameras, the TV monitors, it's just not affordable for the masses. And then as technology evolves, they make it affordable. So these people see it coming down the pipe. They know it's coming down the pipe. My son plays video games. I played video games. You know what it was called? Well, the first game I played was called Pinball. And then after I got done with Pinball, then I played Defender. I played Asteroids, right? I played Pac-Man. Miss Pac-Man. Galaga. And then there were some kids that were far advanced. You ever watch the movie Pixels? It's the patterns. It's the patterns. And Adam Taylor's going, look at the pattern, look at the patterns. And then the guy's like, I don't see it. Right? Because some people pick up on it better than others. Just a matter of fact. Just better. They just pick up on it faster. Forward-facing sonar is like a video game. Right? Some people pick up on it faster, are able to interpret it better. It's just the way it is. And you can tell someone, well, you just got to get better at it. They can't. They just can't. They're not good at it. So you're going to have a league where without it, you could include the people who may not be good with the electronics, but they're good at reading water temperature, the wind, the current, the color. Right? And then you had the people with forward-facing sonar who not really care about that. They're just looking for fish. And they find them in the deep water. So now they're in the deep water, and you got the other cats out there fishing the shallows or stumps. That's what technology does. Can you stop it? No. But does it pick winners and losers? Absolutely. Technology, you can give 100 people the same setup. You can give 100 fishermen the same setup. The same monitors, the same transducers, everything. If they want, like a crack addict, you want to give them 10 transducers. Give them everything. And you're going to have certain anglers that are to kick butt. And you're going to have certain anglers who aren't. Because they just can't comprehend it. And then it's not their fault. It's just, it's something they didn't grow up with. How many of you, I'm in my 50s, man. I have a problem with my phone. I hand it to my 14-year-old. 14-year-old does some type of magic stuff with his fingers and like lickety split 2 seconds and hands it back to me and go, here you go, Dad, it's fixed. It's just the way it is. It's no one's fault. It's just no one's fault, but technology just picks winners and losers. So that's my That's my rant. And if they were really smart, listen, if they were really smart, don't tell anybody this, but if you're really smart, right? Remember when football had two competing leagues? You had the AFC, you had the NFC, right? You had two competing football leagues. Fishing has two competing leagues, right? Why don't they try to either merge or incorporate themselves into embrace the competition? You know how golf has the Davis Cup? You know how golf has the Davis Cup, right? You got the American Tour and you have the European Tour. Two separate tours. Those are the two major tours, right? But they all are governed by the same rules, right? All governed by the same rules. So they have, every 2 years, they have the Davis Cup. The top 10 that finish in the Golfer of the Year awards for the European Tour. The top 10 in the American Tour, and they play against each other. Turns out to be the Europeans against the Americans. And it turns into a big rivalry, big ratings. Why aren't Bassmaster and MLF doing the same thing? At the end of the year, you got the AOY standings. Take the top 10 in the AOY and take the Bassmaster and MLF, make him a captain. Take Kevin Van Dam. He was the MLF guy, right? Toward the end of his career, make him the captain. Take the top 8, maybe the top 10, and make 2 captains picks. Take Bassmaster, take the top 10, give them make Mike Iaconelli. Make Mike the captain. Let him raise a little hell. That'd be a nice hell raiser right there, right? Give him 2 captains picks. So you get 20 anglers. And you have a fish off, man. You have different formats. Just like the Davis Cup. You got 4-ball, you got foursomes, you got teams, and you have individuals. Do the same thing. Day 1, you have a team. You have a team. Right? Team event. Then you have individual events. Then you have the final weigh-in. Some people may say they already do that. I think they do something like that. I think I saw Scott Martin go over to Europe and Mexico. They break it down by country. No. You take the two competing leagues, right? The two leagues that don't like each other, right? They've drawn lines in the sand. Either you're an MLF person or you're a Bassmaster person. So you feed off of that. So you have your version of the Davis Cup and you let them go. Then you got yourself a product, bro. Then you got yourself. Ain't no reason why the last tournament or the last fishing tournament is in August, September, and then you got to sit around for 4 months. You can't sit around for 4 or 5 months. You got to keep people engaged. Football's got something going on all the time. Even when the season ends, they got the pre-draft. How come MLF or Bassmaster doesn't have their own TV app? There are ways of doing it. You got to have a marketing team behind you. Take MLF, take Bassmaster, and take the other one. Was it the MPFL? Come on, man. I got to pull out, go over to the bus stop. Incorporate them. You know, there's not going to be people out there who don't want to give them recognition. That's all right. But last time I checked, their NPFL's paying $100,000. They're paying $100,000. And there's no limitations, right? If you're a Bassmaster member in tournaments, you can go fish MLF, can't you? There's no restrictions on that. You can cross over and play. You can go fish anywhere you want. As long as you fish the 8 or 9, 10 tournaments that you have to be a member of the Bassmaster or something, then after that, you can go wherever you want. You gotta make money. Gotta embrace it. Because when you get these anglers together, right? You see Jacob Wheeler and all these other anglers, they go on different podcasts. They all know one another. They're still friends with one another, right? The only people that aren't friends are the people running the organizations, right? But like and subscribe. I rant like this all the time. I don't get paid by anybody. I certainly don't make enough. I don't make any money off of anything. But I like to rant. And I find it beneficial for me to be able to rant and not take my aggression home with me. You know what I'm saying? But it's always going to be a lively discussion. Or where I'm right. See y'all later. Bye.